Hi everyone, today we're going to be doing an NHD quick tip on annotated bibliographies. Now, we must field a ton of questions on annotated bibliographies. We get questions from what is an annotated bibliography to what's the magic number of sources that I need to use in an annotated bibliography. So hopefully this series of tips on annotated bibliographies will help you figure out exactly what you need and why annotated bibliographies are so important to any NHD project. So we have to start out with the first question. What even is an annotated bibliography? Well, an annotated bibliography brings together all the sources that you use for your NHD project, and that includes both primary sources and secondary sources. But note that really important word, annotated. It's not a bibliography, it's not a works cited, it is an annotated bibliography. And that annotated means that you have to first explain what the source is and then evaluate the source. And that means answering how you used it in your NHD project, how it helped you better understand your NHD topic, and why you chose to include it in your NHD project. We're going to dig a little deeper into annotations in one of our next videos, so stay tuned if you have more questions. But keep those ideas in mind. An annotated bibliography isn't just about citing. It means explaining and evaluating. Like I said before, we get a lot of questions about annotated bibliographies. And there are also a lot of myths about annotated bibliographies that fly around when it comes to National History Day. So hopefully we can clear up some of the bigger ones. There is one question that gets asked more than any other question. What's the magic number of sources I need to use in my annotated bibliography? And I'm here to tell you there isn't one. Really, the sources are dependent on the topic that you've chosen. If you're doing a topic on ancient Egypt, you're probably going to have fewer sources than someone who's doing the topic of the civil rights movement in the United States. You may have hieroglyphs and artifacts that are available in ancient Egypt, but you don't have access to things like photographs and speeches, which may add to the number of sources that are available for different topics. And that's okay. It is completely okay. Every annotated bibliography is going to look different because there are so many different topics that can be selected for an NHD project. You have to figure out the sources that are important and relevant for your project and make sure to include those in your annotated bibliography. But NHD doesn't supply a number. It's not 25, it's not 50, it's not 100. There is no magic number. Now, that being said, if your teacher tells you that there is a number, you have to use that number. In the classroom, the teacher is the most important person. And if they have specific guidelines when it comes to NHD in their classroom, those are the guidelines that you need to follow. So the next biggest question we get, how do I divide my annotated bibliography? Well, the rules for NHD are simple. You have to divide your annotated bibliography into primary sources and secondary sources. Now, primary sources are sources that are completed at the time. An example of a primary source would be the Declaration of Independence. A secondary source is a scholarly work, whether it's an article or a book or a documentary, that evaluates those primary sources, right? It's written after the fact. That's the only way that NHD asks you to organize your annotated bibliography. Now again, there's a caveat. If your teacher wants you to have subsections of your annotated bibliography and group them by a specific type, whether it's photographs or letters or books and articles, you need to follow that rule. So hopefully we've helped to clear up some of those FAQs and myths when it comes to annotated bibliographies. If you still have more questions, that's okay. We have two really great places to send you. The first one is nhd.org/annotated bibliography. So we're going to head over to our annotated bibliography page. Again, that's nhd.org/annotated-bibliography. And this page contains every piece of information that you need to know about setting up, formatting, and working on your annotated bibliography. So If you have questions, this is probably the first place you want to head. We have a tab right here called Writing Annotations, which we're going to get into and talk about more. If you've got questions about quoting and paraphrasing, we've got answers for you on that. Or if you're looking to see if you're citing your sources correctly, don't worry, we have examples of bibliographic entries and footnotes to help you see if you're doing that. If you go ahead and click over, you can look up the different types, and from there, you can see, one, how we would cite, say, a book with one author in the bibliography, or two, how we would cite a book with two authors in the bibliography, okay? And it'll show you both the generic version of where to place everything, and then an example of one filled out for you. Then, if you scroll down a little more, you'll also see footnote examples. So, for an NHD project, you're allowed to use MLA or Chicago style. These footnotes are specific to Chicago because historians prefer Chicago. But if you're using MLA, be sure to check with your teacher on that. But if you have questions on how to set up a Chicago style footnote, you'll also find those on the sample bibliography page. Now, there is one other great place to check out. That's nhd.org/rules. If you haven't heard, in 2020, NHD released its new rulebook. So these are the rules we will be using moving forward. And in that rulebook, we expand our discussion of annotated bibliographies and the role they play in any NHD project. So make sure to head over to nhd.org/rules and download a copy of the new rulebook and check out what it has to say about annotated bibliographies for an NHD project. Hopefully this helps you get started on your annotated bibliographies.